What's up, guys? Andrew here, back at you with another one. And today we're going to continue talking underrated 90s action movies. It's Zero Tolerance, starring Robert Patrick, next on Drew Reviews. So, guys, to me, Robert Patrick, after the success of Terminator 2, should have gone on to be a bigger deal. He's one of the biggest conundrums that I can think of. He went on to do things kind of like Fire in the Sky, and then he was part of the X Files there toward the end, and everybody hated it because it wasn't Fox Mulder. But he does have these little hidden gems here and there, including this movie I'm going to talk about today by PM Entertainment called Zero Tolerance. I just watched it a couple of times in the last week or so, getting ready for this review. PM Entertainment's one of those groups that they did a lot of low budget action movies in the 90s. They kind of took over for Canon Films, and I like a lot of what they did. Everything's done practically. I did a review on Macho Movie Madness for Skyscraper, starring Anna Nicole Smith. That one wasn't so good, but the action in that movie was pretty good with the explosions and the squibs. And this movie has a lot of that. Basically, getting into the plot, you have Robert Patrick playing the character of Jeff Douglas, and he's an FBI agent. Him and two of his partners are going down to Mexico, this Mexican jail, to get, I believe his name is Ray Manta, played by Titus Welliver. This character I really enjoyed in this movie. And he's part of this drug cartel called the White Hand. He's one of 5 drug bosses in this thing. And they get down there to the jail, and I thought it was great. Here's this Mexican jail. There's chickens running around everywhere. Strangely, you hear a donkey in the background. I don't want to know what was going on. But I thought that part of the movie was pretty funny. Don't know if they're actually like that. Don't want to find out. But anyway, the whole thing's kind of a setup. Manta's guys are waiting for them. He gets back with the White Hand guys. They end up killing Jeff's family, and he uses him to get back to the States. And of course, Robert Patrick's wife in this movie is actually his wife in real life, Barbara Patrick. That scene's kind of rough. They really rough her up, and the kid too, and shoot him and kill him. And so from that point on, this just becomes a revenge tale. Jeff Douglas going off against the White Hand and getting back at all 5 of them. And the guys in the White Hand are pretty good. You've got Mick Fleetwood playing Mr. Vitch, which I think is a horrible name for a villain. Mr. Vitch. And of course, Welliver playing Manta. He's chomping up every scene he's in. But yeah, this movie is basically just Jeff going to each of their individual cities and going out on the run and being a vigilante. And in the meantime, this girl who was in his bureau, who has also lost, I believe it was her mother, kind of sympathizes with him and goes out on the run with him. And I really liked her character too. She was played by Kristen Meadows, and I thought she did a pretty good job. The action scenes, like I said, for PM Entertainment are where this movie really shined. There's a scene where they go to Las Vegas that first time, and they leave him in the limo, and he realizes, as all the bad guys walk away, there's a car bomb. And so he gets out just in time. And the explosion sends the stuntman just flying over this car. Even though the stuntman looks nothing like Robert Patrick, the stunt was amazing. And I got to commend him for that. That was very impressive. There's some really good shootouts here. The guy with the dreads, the black guy, who's a member of the White Hand, he has a really good shootout there at his complex. There's a scene with Mick Fleetwood where he's there in the casino, and Jeff walks right up to him point blank and shoots him in the head. Speaking of that Vegas scene, there's a great part there where a car's bearing down on him on the strip, and he's got a shotgun. And I believe he shoots twice, and nothing happens. So there's this big neon lit up sign, and he shoots it, and it comes down on the car. That was a great scene. Of course, explosions everywhere. The opening scene in the desert when they're trying to get Manta out of Mexico, that's shot really well. I really like, they end up shooting his partner through the window, and I believe there's like blood splatters all over the screen. It's just, you feel it in this movie when people get hit. I really like that about it. And this scene's pretty cool with the motorcycles and everything, the dirt bikes going by. So the acting in this movie is both good and somewhat bad. Robert Patrick is good in just about anything. I really liked his character in this. He plays it really well when he finds out his family dies and he just loses it there on the floor. I don't think he's acting when I see that. I really believe the pain he's in. Mick Fleetwood does an all right job. By this point, he'd done quite a few movies. Titus Welliver, who plays Manta, like I said, he's so slimy, and you just want to see him get his at the end. He was really good. And also Kristen Meadows, as I mentioned, the girl fed. I really liked her character. She was very sympathetic. Everybody else, though, was or less than. Barbara Patrick was okay. I don't think she's acted in a whole lot. But, some of those guys like Kowalski, one of the White Hand members, his delivery was rough. The Dreads guy was just okay. I mean, it's a PM Entertainment movie. You're not expecting just high caliber levels of acting. But you're mainly there for the action. I do think some of those secondary characters, they should have took another take or two or tried a different approach. I did have some bugaboos in this movie. They're somewhat minor. The version of this movie I saw is actually on YouTube for free, and it actually looks like a VHS rip or something. Everything's got this yellow tint to it, and so I'm thinking the movie's probably not actually like that. I'm thinking this is like an aged tape or something because it was kind of rough. But you can get through it if you like action movies. There's some nonsensical stuff in this, like your bad guys are basically stormtroopers. They can't hit anything. And Jeff can hit everything. I mean, the massive amount of firepower that they go through in this, just to hit nothing, it's just mind-boggling. Besides that, there's a scene where like him and Meadows' character are trying to get away in a car, and these two helicopters land both in front and behind them on the highway. And he takes the car after she gets out and runs it through a helicopter, and it explodes, which is cool. I like that scene, but the car's undamaged. He keeps going. So the other thing about this movie that's kind of a bugaboo for me, he ends up capturing Manta instead of killing him. And here's the guy that just massacred his family. You killed off all the other White Hand members who had nothing to do with it, and you end up turning this guy over to the feds. Well, before they can get him booked, Manta goes for this guy's gun on his belt. But Patrick ends up pushing him off out of this top story window, and he was cuffed when he goes out. But then they go to a shot where the stuntman's arms are doing this, and then when he hits the car, magically he's cuffed again. And that scene really made me laugh. It is a con, but it's funny at the same time. It's like, how did you guys not see that? Or maybe they just couldn't find a stuntman who would actually do that or could do that safely while cuffed, because it was like a 6-story fall. But the absolute worst bugaboo to me about this movie is the music at the end. It's kind of reminiscent of Cobra in a way. Jeff ends up getting on a bike and riding off. And if you remember my Cobra review, I was talking about how whenever Cobra and Ingrid ride off there at the end and there's a big tracking shot, there's a song there that sounds like Bruce Springsteen's Glory Days, and it just doesn't fit the grisly scene that happened before it. This is just like that. There's a pretty cool kind of punky guitar riff, but then this lady like Celine Dion sounding comes in, and she's singing "Spread Your Wings and Fly." And it's, what? Where did this come from? It sounds awful. Does not fit the movie at all. I guess, it's PM Entertainment, so they probably had some unsigned person do this. Dude, it's bad. It's the worst thing about this movie as the credits are rolling. Like, man, I feel bad for Robert Patrick for having to drive off in the sunset to that direct. So while it sounds like I'm being harsh on this movie, I did like Zero Tolerance quite a bit. I wish it had done more for Robert Patrick's action career because I really like the action in this. Even though it was PM Entertainment, there are some things in there like the helicopter stuff and falling out the window that don't make sense. It was a fun ride. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving this a 6.25. Just like I did Deadly Outbreak last week. I think this is right on par with that. It was just a lot of fun, and if you're into low-budget action flicks, I definitely recommend it. So guys, I'd like to thank you for checking out this video. If you haven't done so in the past, be sure to like and subscribe if you like what I do here. I do a lot of action movies and a lot of sci-fi action movies. So I know I've got a Universal Soldier review coming up. I'm planning on doing Tremors at some point here here in the near future, so be on the lookout for those guys. Check out Zero Tolerance. It was fun. As always, guys, I'm Andrew, and I'll see you down the line on the next Drew Reviews.